Ladies and gentlemen, as of yesterday, May 19th, 2026, Arsenal are the champions of the Premier League. And you might be asking, why is this important? This is not a sports channel. No, it is not. It is important because of one man and one man only, and his name is Eberechi Eze. And almost a year ago, year and 4 or 5 days ago, I recorded this video, which at the time was called Premier League star Crystal Palace player Eberechi Eze is a chess genius. That was May 7th, 2025. And on that day, I traveled on a train from Brussels to London to do a live show on my 2025 European tour. We did a detour to the Crystal Palace training grounds because Ebbs is a chess fan who enjoys some of my content, and we did a collab. Then he went on to play for Arsenal, and then he wins the Premier League. I'm so happy. I'm wearing the Crystal Palace jersey. It's signed, man. He wrote God bless on it. I mean, just a delightful individual. I'm so happy for him. And he's a top 95 percentile chess player. You might not know this, and that's the purpose of today's video. This man, yesterday, as they were watching Man City play against Bournemouth, I think that's how you pronounce it, it might be wrong, he was playing chess, man. He's playing chess every day. He is near his peak rating. And in this video, I'm going to show you 2 games that he played recently because I'm so happy for him. And he's better than 95 to 98% of people watching this video. That's like not even an insult. It's straight up the case. So on that note, I'll be showing you a game with black, a game with white. I love that his chess.com profile picture, by the way, is mysterious Peter Griffin in the corner of a room. Like, bro's got a sense of humor. And he's a really good chess player. He's trying to reach 1400. He's very close. He plays the King's Indian and the London, which is like one of the most legendary starter packs in all of chess. And he hopefully will make it to the national team and play in the World Cup and maybe score some critical goals. I'm really happy. I never imagined in a million years of being a chess content creator, coming from teaching kids in classrooms, that I would be meeting, incredible people in incredible fields. And on top of that, they're like so down to earth and great, and so yeah, couldn't be happier for him. Dare I say, when I was in the UK earlier in February, I went actually to the school where he went, and I met like 100, 200 kids there, and we had like a mini assembly, and we played chess. We talked about chess. It was really special. So here we have a King's Indian defense. We have Bishop G5 from the opponent, a player from Czech. Bishop G7, white goes Queen D2. This is one of the most aggressive ways to play, where you try to use this battery of queen and bishop to trade off black's powerful bishop. The way I like to meet this is, if it's possible to go there, I like to just stop that with the move H6 immediately. And then if the bishop goes to H4, you can play G5. And if you're really aggressive, you can actually chase down the bishop and win it completely off the board, so that your bishop then is very strong. Obviously, you can also play knight c6, but that does play into the opponent's hands. Generally, with white, if you're going to play aggressively like this, with the bishop diagonal and everything, you kind of want to take as much space as possible. You don't want to then switch your plan to this more solid positional thing. But anyway, it doesn't really matter. Black's plan here is oftentimes to do this, play e5, but you do struggle here because you cannot play the move h6. So Ebbs plays bishop to g4 here, all normal. The computer is basically screaming to play d5, and I do wonder what black would have played here. Going into the middle, not so great, because then you block your own bishop if you make that trade. Going here is possible, and then after b3, you have some tactical opportunities here, like you can play c5 and a6 and rook b8 and b5 in advance, all very normal types of things. Chess at 1400 level is very, very challenging. Actually, my next book is for, people to get to 1700. I've talked about it at length. And I will show you some of these things that come up in this game. So we have this trade, and now the best move is not to go e5 straight away, but actually to go knight d7 first. This is a very common rerouting idea in the King's Indian defense. The point being that the knight after e5, well, you can't play e5 straight away. You attack this pawn, and then, if something like this happens, actually this bishop is just trapped. Like, the bishop has no moves. So it's a common rerouting idea to play this knight back to d7 to either play e5 or in this case just attack the pawn in the center. None of that really matters. I mean, black goes e5, everything is normal. Knight d5 is just a blunder. Knight d5 puts pressure on the pinned piece, but there's no threat at all. And now Ebbs makes the right decision. He takes with the knight instead of the pawn. You take with the knight, you play c6 to kick the knight out, and you threaten to take the bishop, which would just benefit black, because right now white has the bishop pair. The best move for white now is probably moving the bishop out of the way. It's certainly not castling. And now the move you can basically play automatically is knight takes f3, just removing the bishop from the board entirely. The second best move is c6, because actually targeting this knight and hoping for something like this is even better for black, as this knight is simply much better than this bishop now. And it can always reposition backwards. I don't hate this move at all. He plays c6. This is Grandmaster level understanding. He's Grandmaster at football, 2,900 level. And now, the knight takes, which is not very good for white. And if he took again, that would not be good. Now here, I would play rook e8. You don't need a bloodlust for trading. Ebbs actually plays rook e8. He doesn't even retreat the bishop. And here, white wants to play rook d1 and attack the weak pawn on d6. It's kind of a backwards pawn. A backwards pawn is when the neighbor pawns have moved up, leaving this pawn defenseless, and the pawn cannot move forward because the enemy controls that square. So right now with white, I would play this move without thinking. b3 is just, it's not a good move. With white, you need to understand, like, getting the pieces in the game, timely moments in games, targeting the opponent's weaknesses. People at 1400, what I've learned from observing games as I build the next book and everything, is people, they don't sense the critical moment of a position. b3 is a little too lazy of a move. And now black can immediately begin marching these pawns forward. e4 is great. It attacks the rook in the corner. He takes and just loses the rook. And e4 is just a clean move, picking up some material. And now you have to convert this position. So you have a winning position, but how do you actually win it? Well, there are two ways to win a winning position, which is chapter 6 or 7, and no, I'm not just saying that because Generation Alpha is watching, of the next book. I have a chapter purely on converting winning positions, and the book's out in October. But in that book, I talk about sending the game to an endgame or winning the game with a vicious attack. And I think I'm going to put this game, in the book because it was very instructive. So the way you win is you can, bring the pieces, go after the king using your material advantage, or you can trade the queens, trade the rooks. Because if you end up with rook versus bishop, you should win this position with your eyes closed. It should be very easy. A bishop cannot put up as much of a fight as a queen. I mean, there's a way to lose here still, when the queen is on the board. So white plays queen d3. Well, that's a very, at least go queen c3, threatening a long distance mate. Queen e7. This shows that you have class. Like the fact that you don't move the rook, you don't push the pawn, you play a nice queen e7 to make way for the rook as well. f3 is a massive mistake because it prioritizes the dopamine hit of attacking the rook over the king's safety, because now after rook e1, clean move, by the way, Ebbs has spent a minute getting to this position, 20 moves getting to this position, the king moves up, you don't even think here, you immediately, not rook f8 obviously, rook e2, rook e8, try to get rook e2, honestly, try to get queen e2, try to trade that queen, and if you don't, you get the rook here, you probably hunt the king down. Again, this is the only source of counterplay that white has. And if this move appears after rook e8, queen d4, then with black, you have to decide, should you do this, which is very practical, or do you go hunt the king down and try to checkmate? I don't actually think there is a checkmate. In fact, sometimes when you go for an attack and you don't see a mate, look at this, f5, all of a sudden you lose the game. Because even though you can check a million times, I defend myself, suddenly mate is nearly unavoidable. You have to go rook e7, and after queen f6, you just straight up lose. So there are ways that you could lose the game by accident when you go for a king hunt in a winning position, but you don't finish the job. You always have to look for the next check. Chess at 1400 is very challenging. You can accidentally walk a king to a totally safe position, right? So here, Ebbs goes queen e5 preemptively. Bro, the fact that this man defended his pawn and blocked the diagonal, he didn't go queen e6, he didn't go queen e7, he noticed that queen d4, queen g7 is coming. This is a Premier League footballer. This man might be the best Premier League chess player on earth. He really might be. I don't know who else plays. I hear rumors Harry Kane plays, Olise plays. If somehow anybody watching this is a Premier League footballer or knows somebody who is one, let's put on a Premier League chess tournament. All right, none of you are champions anyway. You got to save that for the next season. You're all knocked out of the Champions League. All right? So let's get it on. You know what I'm saying? So Queen E5 is amazing. Obviously, the best football playing chess player in the world is Dejan Jovelic. He's 2200 FIDE. But Queen E5 is clean. F4, I wish there was a way to trade the queens. I would go here or Queen F6. Both moves are good. He goes Queen H5. Now the bishop has to get out. H6 immediately. Rook E8 is also a clean move. And Ebbs realizes that if white takes this, Rook E2 is just mate. Rook E2. He uses his piece majority to devastate the opponent's king. He doesn't play Queen E2 anymore, Rook E2, and now you win this game effortlessly. You simply make another queen. You could also just take all the pawns and make a queen. D5, Bishop E7, D2. Look at this. 2 queens on the board. Queen H5, Queen E2. Queen H2 was mate in 1, but you know what they say. When you have mate in 1, always look for a better move. Bro, this was a 90% game as far as I'm concerned. He absolutely dismantles a 1350 rated player. Like, he's so freaking strong. He was like 1200. And during the PogChamps tournament last year, he was, I don't know what his level was, but I think he was around 1000. Dude, he is a menace. I mean, this game was sensational. Was really, really sensational. I'm gonna show you this one. This was also a very instructive game. This is his best win ever. He beat a 1400 rapid player. And this was like 3 days ago. A week ago, actually. May 14th. He's a killer. He's a killer on the pitch, off the pitch. Like, I'm really blown away. So he plays the London with white, which is an easy opening, obviously, to learn. C takes. Now, the London, there's a lot hidden under the surface of a London, just like there's a lot hidden under the surface of a football match, you know? Like, I watch it like an idiot. My football elo is 400. I watch him like, why is he doing the thing? Why is he not, how did he not score? Anyway, like, you know, so what's hidden under the surface is that oftentimes taking with the E pawn is better than taking with the C pawn in the London. This pawn helps control invaders on this side of the board, and this provides a cushion for the bishop to sit on this square from that knight. And also the e-file is open, so white, when they put a rook or a queen here, have more control of the e-file. It is a little bit better to take with the e-pawn. This is fine, but symmetrical pawn structures are harder to play for any advantage. In chess, you need some imbalance, kind of like in a football lineup, right? So knight c3, queen a5. The opponent immediately goes for a knight developed in front of white's king. One piece of advice for intermediate players who are trying to become advanced players, it is sometimes too early in a game to go take your opponent's head off. If the opponent has done nothing wrong, and here clearly nobody's done anything too wrong, you can't. It's not possible. You're not going to be able to punish anybody, right? But you could scare them. So here, white should just play queen c2, rook c1, a3, you know, Ebbs plays queen c2, and black really piles on the pressure. Now, what's funny about this position is there's actually no threat at all to white, but it looks like there is. And, you know, with white, suddenly you're like, I want to play rook c1, but actually, wait a minute, if I play rook c1, my opponent can take the pawn on a2, which is a very famous blunder, because you can't take it because of this. But what's funny is, if you actually just play bishop d3, you instigate the opponent to take this knight. It doesn't even work, because since the opponent got overzealous and did all this before finishing their development, you can actually just castle. Now, this is not something you can find on your own as a 1300. It's not. You would be cheating. The knight just stays there and can't move because the bishop would hang. That's nasty. The knight can't take anything, so black would go here. Now you would take, and actually you're just winning here with white. You're actually winning because black is so underdeveloped, you can sack the queen, and this is just a winning position. You dominate on the 8th rank, you pin the bishop, you're just going to win all the material. You could even take this knight, but bishop d6 is even better. So, obviously, as a normal person who is facing this for the first time, you're like, oh my god, so you blunder, you play bishop b5 check. Bishop b5 check is a mistake. Ebbs did this because he was like, I'm checking my opponent, he's going to block, I'm going to take, and then I'm going to castle. The bishop is actually just hanging. The bishop is ghost protected by the knight. The knight is pinned. It's a useless piece. It can't actually move anywhere, and it can't fight for any squares. What's funny is that if you played bishop d3 and then just lost this pawn, either like this, you know, even this position is just losing because this would be absolutely devastating for black. But you panic, but guess what? The opponent doesn't even realize they can take the bishop. This is intermediate chess, sprinkled with one-move blunders, but underneath it all is actually a solid foundation of chess. It's just like, you know, you saw this, and White's idea was like, I need to castle, so I'm going to give this check because I need the move to be forcing. Logically, it's all there, but it's such an obscure thing, you actually both just totally miss this move. Then the game gets stable. So Ebbs captures and is like, all right, I'm going to lose a pawn, but it's not the end of the world. But it's actually still too dangerous for black to take this pawn. Why? Because you basically run all the pieces into the position and you win a pawn, and now you're like, woohoo, I'm winning a pawn and I'm attacking the rook. But as you level up in chess, you start realizing that sometimes you run your pieces into a dead end. And right now, white can play rook b1, which is a very easy move to play. Rook c1 looks good, but it's a bad move because then you run your pieces into a dead end with white. After rook c8, you have no follow-up. You block this rook from entering the game. Whereas, if you play rook b1 and black defends the pawn, now this rook can go here. And this is a major problem for black. You look at this position and you think, well, so what? He's just going to move away. Yes, that's what it looks like. And then it looks like short castle is coming. Which is why, in chapter 5 of How to Win at Chess Next Level, I have a chapter and a section on how to attack a king that hasn't castled. With white here, you need to sense, hey, the king wants to castle. How do I prevent that? And you can play queen, c6, or c7. I like this a little more. You threaten the rook, and the king can't castle because you would hang the knight, and the queen and the bishop are out of this picture completely. So the rook has to move. The rook will go here. Now we start hunting. The rook now has to go here. And now, don't go here and allow castles. There's a pin piece. Knight e5 is absolutely devastating. Black has to castle. They just have to give up the knight and lose. They have no way to defend themselves. This is very instructive stuff. If you haven't fine-tuned this skill in your head, you haven't seen this pattern enough times, you will not pick this up. This is why I love covering intermediate games. That's why I'm so proud of the next book and I keep talking about it, because there's these little skills as the game goes on. Whereas, for example, Ebbs went here, black went here, and in his head, he's probably thinking, well, I could go here and attack the bishop, but what does that actually do for my position? Well, it brings another rook. Like, it's the only piece in white's position that hasn't moved. So if you're making an attacking move and improving your position at the same time, and the opponent doesn't have some immediate counter, it's probably a good move. White goes knight e5, which for black, now the plan is very easy. The plan is I just take the knight and I castle because I haven't gotten my king out of the middle of the board. That's what black should do. Black does that, and now I wouldn't even hesitate for a second here. You need to get the king out of the middle, and you need to defend this pawn. Black plays f6, which is a horrendous move as far as I'm concerned, even though it's around equal. There's just no need. Like, yes, you can attack the bishop, but now the bishop will move, which it does. And this is an amazing move because you cannot castle now. So Ebbs was like, hey, my opponent probably wants to castle. Bishop d6 is amazing. If you play bishop g3 here, black is going to go short castle, and white is going to probably attack the bishop, and now black can move the bishop, or black can just, like, bring the rook. And then what black is going to do next is probably double the rook, like this. And now black is totally fine. Black is up a pawn. Black is going to move the bishop and create some problems for white. But you cannot use your central pawns while your king is still in the middle. Bishop d6. You know what the best move now is for black? Moving the king. Moving the king to d7 or f7. Because that way you need to activate your rooks. If you don't move your king, you can't activate your rooks. If you don't activate your rooks, you're playing with half the pieces missing. Black's next move here is a catastrophic misunderstanding of the position. But with white, you need to punish it. As far as I'm concerned, it's nearly losing on the spot. e5. The advantage goes from minus 0.1 to plus 4.5 with one move. With one move, because the king is so weak. Immediately when I see this move, I'm thinking, yo, king is in the middle, right? I'm pretty sure chopping this down cannot be bad. It can't be bad. Opening the middle while my opponent's king is there. And then how can I get the queen over there? Well, continuity, one of my favorite words. When the pawn moved up, it stopped guarding something. When the pawn moved, the square next to it freed up. The first thing I see is queen f5, queen e6, and black can't even stop this. The only way that black can stop this is to go king here and literally jump out of the cliffside house window. Just try to jump into the ocean. And then you can give a check, and at the minimum, you have a draw. But at the maximum, you need to activate your rooks now. And how do you activate your rooks without moving them? Another intermediate concept, f4, to try to play rook f3 and rook over. The only way that black can stop this is to go e4, and that loses to f5 check. And now the king goes here, and now the bishop comes closer, and now the pawn blocks, and now you take en passant with check, or you play something like queen f7, and this is just lost. This is just a losing position because you hunt the king down. Either with the queen, with the bishop, it's all over because these pieces just never moved. They never moved again. Now, did Ebbs punish his opponent the right way? He goes rook c1 now. Don't hate this move, but as you see, the rook was actually useful there. Rook fc1 was better earlier. Black plays pawn takes d4. We take. You just cannot do this to your king. This is so disrespectful to the king in the middle of the board. Also, you are playing a world champion of the Premier League. But still, queen c7, by the way, is a mating net. In this position with white, you don't know that it's m4, you don't know that it's a BMW in the evaluation, but you need to sense something. Something inside of you has to tingle a little bit. Should I check the king? Should I go queen c6 or queen c7? What do I do? My man plays queen c6 check. The art of the mating net is something you develop later as a chess player. You realize queen c7 is an inescapable checkmate, and why you never open the center when your king is there. Even at 1400, they are playing like this. It's kind of incredible. Queen c6 check. King f7, queen d7 check. Some beginners would take this pawn and simply lose the queen here. And now the beautiful check, like a boomerang. You want the king back on f7 so your rook can go help. And that is how the game ends. An absolutely merciless, absolutely thunderous obliteration of the opponent. Queen e6, the fancy mate, not taking the pawn, not taking the bishop. Queen e6, all the pieces work together. Black didn't move either rook in this game. This man froze his opponent's rooks in the corner of the board. Now, I do have to say, if the opponent had not played f6 and e5 and just castled, this would have been a totally different game. Would have been a long game. Play the simple move. Keep it to the basics. Don't get too aggressive. At 1400, you cannot reinvent the wheel. You are not good enough yet. f6, e5 with the king in the center of the board, absolutely not. No chance you can play like that. But to punish it the way he did, emphatically, is very impressive. By the way, I am at the level that he is in the slow run. Maybe I'll play him in the slow run. That would actually be really sick. But that would, I like to keep it private. So anyway, he's so strong, man. I mean, he's probably the best chess playing Premier Leaguer. He really is. And now he's a champion as well. I'm so happy for the guy. Massive congratulations to him, to the Arsenal team, to Arteta. And yeah, Man City, y'all win enough, all right? Leave some on the table for everybody else. I gotta get an Arsenal jersey next, but I have this one from that collab that we did. And, this is a really crazy and special story for me because I only really got into football over the last year. I also just recently did a collab with Dejan Joveljic, like I said, from Sporting KC. So I'm following it a lot more. I really would just watch the World Cup and a little Champions League, but I've tried to keep up with it this year. Went to a Real Madrid match earlier this year in January when I was there. So yeah, just really special, and a little bit of the insight to the life of Gotham, So that's all I have for you today. Ebbs is an amazing player. He's also a champ now, and maybe it's coming home. Maybe it's coming home to England in a couple of months' time. That's all I have for you today. All right, if you made it this far. I said I met Ebbs during the Europe tour last year. There will be another one. I've been talking about it. You can get a ticket. We're coming to Paris, Amsterdam, Zurich, Köln, Cologne, and once again to London. If you want to pre-order the book, you can, etc., etc. Get out of here.